Okay, welcome everybody. Sorry about the, well, not too late start. We're going to start this meeting at 10:01. We did change rooms. I don't know if that's important to put on the record or not. We were in the Pelican conference room, but there's no air conditioning there. So we moved over into the theater. So hopefully people can find us if they're still looking for us. Why don't we get started? First thing on the agenda after the call to order is the Pledge of Allegiance. We do not have a flag in this room.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah, that's right. Danny's right. It's that way outside. So. And we all have good imagination.
That's it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's do a roll call. We'll start at the front here, and we have a guest.
Yes. Good morning, Dean Groves.
Danny Clemens.
Jennifer Nissenall.
Jennifer Lewis.
Larry Dixon.
Randy Bibleton.
Andrew Crawford.
Okay, sorry.
Andrew Johnston, Gateway.
Bob Gifford. Marty Mann, PPAC.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And on the video, we have
Georgia Johnson and Laura Leroy.
okay, terrific. All right, I'm just doing a little bit of paperwork here. Move this around, and we have forms here for anybody who would like to make some public comment. If you'd like, there's a form here for that. We do have members of the public. Anybody from the public anybody would like to say anything to the team, ask a question, raise a concern? Okay, none. Approval of minutes. The first one on the agenda is approve the June 26th meeting minutes of the Safety and Security Sub-Team. However, I received a PPAC minutes.
There's an updated.
Oh, is there an updated?
There's an update.
Oh, I don't have the updated, so my apologies.
Same date.
Same date, okay,
Yeah,
okay, no problem. Well, I haven't seen the.
that was the
updated
day
one.
that we didn't have a quorum. But we
Right.
did discuss, so.
Okay, sorry, I just don't have I guess I pulled it too early. Any questions or concerns about that set of minutes for the June 26th meeting?
I had one question. This is Dean Groves. I had one question on the draft minutes, and Randy, I'll just direct it to you because I think you will probably recall the specifics. This is during the discussion about the speed control at Veneto and Vicenza. There was reference to needing neighborhood support, and I think the minutes say that we need to have 30 owners, 30 homeowners in favor of the project. And I forget if it's 30 or if there are 2/3 of 30.
2/3 of 30.
Okay.
There are 30 homes in that particular neighborhood. And there was some discussion that may not be necessary from Chelsea, I believe, or Brian. But at the meeting, Laura was still firm on the fact that we needed to have that.
Okay. All right. So the minutes say that we need to have 30, and I think the correction is we need to have 2/3 of
2/3. So we need 20 of the 30. We want to be specific.
Okay, any other comment on that particular point? Okay, any other comments on those minutes? Okay, Kim,
I'll make a
Yeah.
motion to accept the minutes as revised.
second,
Danny Clemens, second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it passes. The second set of minutes is from our meeting on July 6th. Any questions or comments about those minutes? Okay, I hear none. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Danny.
All All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Thank you all very much. Next thing is the financial report, and as we've said a number of times, but I'll just put it on the record, we will not have that until the fiscal year 24 budget, which starts in October. Items for discussion. Any items for discussion that people would like to bring up before we get into the actual items listed on the agenda?
This is Andrew Johnson. I have an update regarding the gas line installation.
Terrific.
I was able to talk to Tico and I've since received an email confirming that there's no further financial action or any impact to us for that gas line installation. We do not need to install the gas water heater. So all good news coming back from them. And I've gotten a confirmation email stating all of that.
So
Terrific.
there'd be no more obligation for paying for,
There's no obligation for us to pay anything for the installation of the service.
okay, so we're ready to
We're
go.
clear.
I have,
Bob Gephardt. Yeah, Jen, we still have to have a contract, right?
yeah, I have the update on Oscar's All Gas. So for the secondary gas line, I do have an update. Oscar, reached out to me. He accidentally put the wrong company name on the permit and it was rejected on who installed the generator, even though I provided that information. Anyways, he has the correct information. He's resubmitted the permit, so we're just waiting for that approval and he'll be out to get that. He's already, been, getting everything ready.
Dollars associated with this service.
Yes, $2,200 to hook
Yeah.
up that secondary gas.
Just information.
Just
Yeah.
to confirm, my comments were regarding the infrastructure gas line
Perfect.
to,
Purchase and install.
to the service, creating service.
And did that take care of your?
Yep, I just-
Okay, good.
Wanted to differentiate, I figured Jennifer would. but-
Yes.
So I have a question, this is Danny. So where are we in the final installation of the generator
That's correct.
from Oscar?
Oscar's All Gas for the secondary gas line.
So what is his plan? What is his timeframe?
Oh, as soon as the permit gets approved, he'll be out here getting it scheduled.
Should've been
Unfortunately,
done.
he's been waiting and then the permits got behind and then he put the wrong information on the permit, so they had to resubmit it.
Okay,
Welcome to Florida.
one. I still have the backup generator sitting and waiting.
So we're putting it down.
This is Laura. I have some clarification. I know we had some discussion the last time regarding the traffic study and the things that you guys wanted to do. And I had said that you had to use, well, that we had to give Tetra Tech the first rights of refusal. I was kind of correct in that statement. I talked to Chelsea about it and she clarified that if you guys want to use FTE for that, you certainly can because they are traffic specialist engineers where Tetra Tech is not a traffic specialist. So that's the loophole for that one where we can not use Tetra Tech and use the FTE like you wanted to. So I just thought I should clarify that.
Oh, more good news.
Laura, this is Bob. What's the update on the water heater? I mean, one time we had to do it. I heard Andrew say now we don't.
But what Andrew told you is the same information I have.
Are we going to have a hot water heater in there?
Yeah, there is a hot water heater in there currently. It's just electric.
Yeah, there is one. It's electric.
Great.
So the original, as I remember, and we approved, was that there would be no charges for gas hookup if in fact we changed to it. So now we're talking about a $2,200 charge and skipping that program.
Yeah, the information that I got was that because we were gonna have an additional appliance, being the gas hot water heater with the generator, that caused the installation cost to be zero. Okay,
Yes,
because we've already installed the infrastructure, there's no follow-up to be done by Tico. Okay, and they've told us that we don't have a charge coming. All right, so that's where we're at with it, and they provided me with that information.
The differentiation, Randy, is that once everything was installed by Tico, they're totally done, they're finished with it. We still had to get a connection from the unit to the gas meter. And that's where we had to have an outside contractor. That's where Oscar's all gas came in. You're exactly correct in what you said. We were told we wouldn't have an additional charge, and we didn't, but apparently we still had to get Oscar regardless of
Yes.
anything else.
That's right.
Correct.
Because it has to
Yep.
be hooked up from the meter to the generator itself, and Tico does not do that. So you have to get a gas plumber to do that work.
Tico's responsibility was to get the gas to the meter. And then it's up to us to get it from the meter to the generator.
To the generator. I have other updates. So the signs that we still have repairs on at Margarita and Prado, unfortunately, Matt Sprung, our representative, is no longer with Lycan Sign Tech. So Chelsea has the information for the new contact person. Hopefully, he's been given the list of everything. I'm gonna reach out to him as well. So again, we're getting pushed with street sign repairs from the hurricane. Rock Solid Pavers is, approved to do the Margarita, to entrance. Pavers were approved, at the last PPAC meeting, just a little slight variation on color. The other Cambridge style was not available. West Coast Electric did come out to Palazzo. Unfortunately, the pole was the wrong size. So here again, a West Coast blunder with, well, I don't think West Coast was responsible for the Cypress incident, but anyways, the wrong size pole came, but they were able to make some corrections in repairs to the other poles and light fixtures out there. So they're in pretty good shape. We're just waiting for the pole out there. And the new pole, probably in about 2 more weeks.
Excuse me,
It's
Jen,
pretty much on it.
so I didn't catch, where is that? Is that the site? That's Palazzo.
Palazzo, they had a street pole that came down in the hurricane in front of their pool clubhouse.
Okay.
Jennifer accidentally, or Landon, I'm not sure who, whatever electrician came out, they measured the pole wrong. And when they bought the new one out, it was the wrong size. So they put a rush on the new one. And so that'll be here probably in 2 more weeks. There was a pole that was severely leaning at the cul-de-sac down there at Palazzo. I was very worried that it was going to come over on someone. So they've fixed that. And there was 2 light fixtures that had the insides pretty much gutted out from the hurricane. So they've made those repairs as well. So Palazzo's just waiting for the 1 pole and light fixture. I just wanted to touch base, where were we, did the Board of Supervisors approve the restriping? Because I know that PPAC approved it at their last meeting, right?
That's
Am I
correct.
I just didn't know if the Board of Supervisors had approved the restriping at their
I
last
don't
meeting.
recall if it came up, maybe Laura can answer. If it did, there was no reason for us not to. See if Laura.
Okay. Laura, can you answer that?
You're talking about the pavement painting refresher
Yeah, the
project?
repainting for DG.
Yeah, that was approved.
It was, okay, so I can
Yes.
let Ken know to get that scheduled.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Jenny, before you leave, Bob, you have to get the lights that were out on the tree line, do the realtor.
Oh, so we had, out there, every, probably 10 or 15 feet, there was another fault in the wiring. So West Coast has, made all of those repairs. Unfortunately, one of the invoices was not split out. So I need to talk to Laura on what we feel needs to be billed back to Lee and Associates for. It wasn't just that sign. There was at least 5 or 6 faults out there. And Jennifer isn't going to accuse Comcast necessarily, but she said it was very odd that the Comcast cable was running very close to the electrical out there, and there was several nicks in the wiring. But how do you prove
But they
it?
are functional now. Now it's
Yes.
just a question. of
Yeah.
Divvying up the thing.
Yeah, we just got to figure out what portion Lee and Associates needs to pay for their,
Thank you.
yeah, for them putting that sign in without calling no cuts.
On the issues of signs for that, did you get copied on? I believe you got copied on the emails that were sent by that HOA president.
Oh, Dave Hamilton sent
Not
over
Dave.
for Prado.
Was it-
Oh, Deborah Gentry.
Deborah.
Yes, and Matt did confirm before that those signs had been picked up and brought back to their shop for repairs. So there are 4 roundabout signs.
And we
for
don't
Product
need that
Circle.
representative who left
No,
to follow up.
no, we've got a new representative. All the signs are at their shop. It's just that they're the only decorative sign repair company. We could go to Fast Signs and they could throw in an aluminum post and, and a stop sign, but Lycans is really the only one. And Laura and Chelsea even told me they're having a terrible time with them at Gateway because they do the decorative.
Gotcha.
This
This is kind of a second round for me with that particular situation
Yeah.
with Deborah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
make sure that.
yeah, Matt and I confirmed that
Right.
they was supposed to be one at every intersection of that roundabout. And he said that the repair guys pulled it back to their sign yard. Just a matter of getting through all the repairs for Southwest Florida.
I have to further that, was also shown on the design plans for the roundabout. I understand that there was signage that showed essentially which lane you should be in when you wanted to go around the roundabout if you were coming out of the Pistoia neighborhood and you
Sure.
wanted to go to Prado Boulevard, you would be in the left lane. If you wanted to go to Prado, is it Prado Drive, right? Then you would be in the right.
Right.
And there are only two signs out there.
Yeah, the other two got pulled back to their repair yard.
Oh, so there still are two more to go
There's
in.
still two more from the hurricane that came down that are in their yard for repairs.
Right, I didn't
Yeah.
realize that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then there's further down on Prado Drive, I was out there the other day and I noticed a missing, looks like a missing crosswalk warning sign, a yellow sign
Okay,
with that would have an image of a person crossing the street. The signpost is there, the frame is there, the sign is not
the
there.
sign is not, so we'll have to find out. It might be on this list here.
There are a lot of signs in
There's a
Prado that are
lot.
still down.
Really.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna contact
Need to be down. Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
You didn't comment on that, so I just wanted to know.
Was that just ahead of the service road,
Yes,
the gateway service?
just about right
It
in
used to
that
be-
area. Yeah,
Yeah,
right in that area.
a lot of signs back there are still down.
Yeah, and Matt and I
Yeah.
drove through the community. He had maps and he literally marked everywhere so that his crews would know exactly where to go. I think that was some confusion when they came out for initial repairs. They told him, oh, we're all done. And I'm like, no, you're not all done. So he and I drove all the way from the top of the community all the way down and he made note on his map. So I've got to reach out to the new representative, make sure Matt left those maps behind.
This is Dean Groves again. Another comment, just following up, Randy took pictures of some sidewalk drainage modifications on Cypress Grove Drive that were done a couple of weeks ago, I think, now. And that's about a month ago, and that seems to be functioning really well. Subsequently, Laura had sent a message that she had spoken with a resident on Prado Drive, who was speaking about sidewalk drainage issues at her property, between her property and the adjacent property. I went out and looked at that, and after a rainstorm, and I don't really see, after the rains we had this week, I didn't see really any significant puddling. The condition of the sidewalk's not great. It could probably stand to be power washed and whatnot, but as far as drainage is concerned, based on my observations after this rains this weekend, didn't seem to be too bad.
And Andrew and I just met with Gator at 9 o'clock to go over some of those,
the
the
heat.
root damage that's lifting up the sidewalk. So we have what, 4 areas,
6 areas in total.
6 areas that we found along Pelican Preserve.
Good.
Bob Gephardt, one additional comment to tie into that. Tetra Tech was tasked with surveying Prado again, called it the drainage, both in-yard drainage and sidewalk and or driveway drainage. The purpose of what Tetra Tech is doing is to make sure that the surfaces were installed properly and that we don't have puddling and or places that'll build up algae or moss and cause a slip and slide. The district still has, or is about approved, releasing almost $800,000 bond
Okay.
And that, then Lennar walks away when we give them their money. So we have developed a list along with Deborah Gentry, and I believe it is Nancy Smith is the other person out there that's spearheading this for their community. So the various lists have been consolidated. Tetra Tech has confirmed from an engineering point of view, the existence of the problem. And the ball is in the court now of Lennar to finish these. We may or may not cover everything we talked about today, but I wanted to share with the group that is an ongoing issue between the district and or PPAC and Lennar.
Thank you.
Yeah, this Randy Bottleson. On a initiative by Dave Hamilton on that Prado HOA board. We had 3 different spots that were identified on the sidewalks at Prado where Ameriscapes cut it out, put in paver bricks.
Yep.
And it seemed to do quite well relative to that. Now, casual observation, my part, looks to me like the grade was left the same as the sidewalk, and then they put sod in and created a dam. I'm not an engineer, but that's just what it looks like to me, because once the grass was gone, then it drained perfectly.
Right, the grass dammed it up.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
we did
just,
that pilot, you're right, and it was effective.
and so I'm a little surprised you need an engineering firm, high-powered engineering, expensive firm to look at that, but
Well, you're probably right, and the only reason they were engaged is because we're going against bond council, things of that nature. They need
Okay.
to have the credential.
all right.
And it wasn't only for that, Randy, because you're totally correct. That was an observable, just break the dam, you're okay. But the in-ground drainage issues are more significant. And Lennar was required to complete all that before Toner, and they did all but about 26 homes.
I see.
Some homes got built before Lennar recognized that they were required by the permit criteria manual to install all this. And they just chose to never go back and fix it. And then there's about 3 or 4 different components to it. But you're exactly correct. The simple solution is the best solution. What Ameriscape did by putting in those brick pavers, that solved a lot. And I guess the other thing is the concrete is even cheaper to do and just as effective. What I'm now,
Yeah, I don't know that it was cheaper to do, but
Oh,
it is
okay.
clearly effective. And
Well, the bricks were free. You don't get it cheaper. But yeah, it was just a problem.
yeah, I mean, they spend $100 on paper bricks and
Yeah.
they're provided the service, so I mean.
Yep.
That was a unique situation.
But now at least everybody's aware of it enough to be confused. We get it out.
And one last
Part of
question.
the thinking on Pelican Preserve is that a lot of concrete around in terms of sidewalks, curbs and that type of stuff. So Andrew was suggesting that concrete. The 3 of those sections needed to be replaced, but then also the flume to drain directly into that storm gutter.
Ted Crawford, I missed a few meetings. Can I get an update on the Vicenza Benito situation and the speed abatement? Where are we with that?
This is Dean, and I'll address it. So, Ted, we had engaged a consultant, Florida Transportation Engineering. They had looked at several traffic calming, speed management options and priced them out, and we reviewed them. We came back with some comments or 2. They revised it and came back with a speed hump from curb to curb east of Vicenza. So between the end of the island, the median island, and east and Vicenza Drive, they would have a suggested speed hump, concrete speed hump that went from gutter to gutter. So there would be no swerving around it like there is today around the rumble strips. And they estimated the cost of this concrete speed hump at approximately $10,000. They had priced it out initially with stamped concrete, because we had said, well, if we're gonna have something, let's kind of dress it up a bit. And dressing it up a bit costs a bit more than what we were anticipating. So concrete, like the image that Randy just showed you, about $10,000 is what they estimate. We have yet to go back to the community to talk to the neighborhood. That's why I raised the comment on the previous minutes. And we would need to meet with the neighborhood and with the community association, because the other side of the intersection is community association property, to kind of go through this option, but approximately $10,000 for a speed hump. Take the rumble strips out. If the neighborhood votes 2/3 in favor, then I think it goes back to P-PAC to fund that and move forward.
But I would, this is Randy, you know, I would like to see us have, all of those signed, agreements by 20 or 30 of that neighborhood before we go back to P-PAC, because once again, we need to do it in a sequence that makes sense. And if they don't approve it, then once again, we're just kind of, stuck.
Yes, sir.
And it is, is there a, I would hope we do something other than just a concrete hump. Keep the same look as the entrances into the neighborhoods, whether it's pavers. If it isn't pavers,
This is the idea. I can pass my phone around.
no, I know, but it's concrete.
That's right.
All the other entrances have, you know, pavers and that, and it just seems like to keep a consistent look. But it seems the entrance has pavers, at least the stamp concrete would have that consistent look that's, you know, all the other parts of the neighborhood.
I think that's often, yeah, I think that's a great idea. You know, to the community too. Make it not only functional, but a little.
It's a great idea, except it costs $50,000. So that makes it less of a great idea.
How much? The papers.
You know, if we just put some stamping on top of the concrete, that's 10 grand for that. Believe me, we're looking at the most cost-effective way to keep people from driving into another lane or up onto the grass. And at this point, that seems to be.
Installing at battery.
Pardon?
Pavers that were installed at battery to two, only 18,000 bucks, right?
Yeah.
So
That's-
why would this be significantly?
It was based on unit bid prices from Florida Department of Transportation for stamped concrete. That's based on bids in Southwest Florida, District 1 for Florida Department of Transportation. Those are the unit costs. When you're talking about doing something privately, like pavers at an entrance, it's a much different bid process. So this is what they came up with based on standard unit pricing.
Well, this is Bobby. Presently, nobody likes what we got. And I doubt if they're gonna like the stamp paper. However, if that's the choice we take from a safety point of view, then that's the choice we take. But the Ed's comment, you know, if you can put a pretty robe on an ugly goat, it might make it a little more palatable. And yeah, Randy, you're right. It's extra money. We're spending money, no doubt about it.
It's the entrance.
But it's a pretty significant corner of the community. I mean, we've done it for Prado, or not Prado, for Matarita, and we did it for, that little.
Except this is truly a different situation, because it's you know, they already have their paper brick and they got their monument and they've got all kinds of landscaping around that. This is simply a traffic calming device. And when you look at the picture, you know, it's just a little raised concrete platform.
Also
I
not
don't see where
exactly
that's
adjacent-
objective or.
It's not adjacent to the
Here.
would not be adjacent to the
Yeah,
pavers that already
maybe I
exist.
Oh,
So,
I have this, I have the schematics.
Yeah, but he's got.
Well, I took a picture. Let me pass my phone around. This is a picture of one that's out on State Road, a community out off of State Road 82, back by Publix and Dairy Queen and that side of it.
Mhm.
And it's simply a raised platform, but it's enough to cause people to slow down.
Do we have to use?
And that is kind of a standard city of Fort Myers.
Yeah.
Type thing. So there should be no issue with permitting it. It should be the least expensive option that we have seen to date. And I firmly believe that should be acceptable to that neighborhood. But I've been fooled before.
Are we stuck with this
FG.
Jen with KW? I'm just wondering, are we able to get bids from other vendors that might be able to give us what we want for stamped concrete that would come within the same price point?
We have to get permits from the city of Fort Myers.
Okay.
So the concrete speed hump is a standard design for the city of Fort
Okay.
Myers. We could seek bids, alternate, we could do it, seek a bid for concrete or, and as an add alternate, we could ask for that to be stamped concrete
Okay,
and compare the differences. Those are out there as options as well.
okay,
But, you know, the whole idea is to, slow traffic and, remove the rumble strips and do something that is cost effective and approvable by the city of Fort Myers and acceptable by the community.
I did reach out to the president of Vicenza about a month ago, and she was on vacation. I've not heard back from her. She was gonna send an email out to her community.
I don't want to do anything to slow down the resolution. Well, that needs to be done. I'm totally, completely on board with that. But I don't want to be closed-minded if there's alternatives to make it free.
Yeah.
Let's leave it at that. But to Randy's question, I'm tight on the money. I don't want to spend the nickel. But it is a pretty prominent intersection in there. But move on. We've devoted so much time to that one corner.
Yeah.
In this
Yeah.
community, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, Jennifer, one last question.
Yes.
Dean Groves again. It has to do with the status of the light at Cypress Grove and Pelican Preserve Boulevard. I know it was on back order. The post was on back order. I just have lost track of where we are
September,
time-wise.
I think.
I think around September. It was a 16-week
Yeah,
lead time. And I think that was part of the problem was when Jennifer came out to do
Yeah.
that light and the generator proposal, and she was with Scott at the time, Charnock. And she told him it was like an 18-week lead time. I think he then said, oh, just get another street light that you have. Or, you know, one that's a quicker order, and he shouldn't have done
but
that.
that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just curious,
So-
where are we now?
Yeah,
And
so
if you think it's around September,
Yeah, we
It's a
estimated
major
it.
time for they had a meeting and told her, she said 4 months out.
Yeah.
So in my mind, it's stuck up. We should have it by September.
Yeah,
She said 14 weeks.
14
yeah.
weeks. Yeah,
14 weeks.
thank you.
Okay. Let's move on to the items that we actually have listed on the agenda here. The first one is the discussion of safety and security subcommittee reporting option to the PPCA. And this was submitted by Dean, so.
Okay, so, you know, with all of the discussion over the past several weeks, months regarding moving funding around for different and allocating responsibilities to different groups within the PPAC, you know, the different subcommittees. A question was posed to me. What would you prefer to do? How do you think things could be better, more efficient? And frankly, I've found that from my perspective, the sunshine laws that we, you know, that are valuable, just constrain or restrain the ability of the Safety and Security Subcommittee to discuss, to communicate, to talk about things. In the context of, you know, us taking on possibly additional responsibilities, you know, if something comes into the subcommittee, we can't talk about it until we get together in a publicly noticed meeting. You know, so that's possibly 3 or 4 weeks later. We discuss it, maybe it gets resolved, maybe we have to kick it down the road a little bit, and another 4 weeks goes by before we get to talk about it again, because we can't get together to talk. it just seems to me to be very, very cumbersome and inefficient. So when I was asked that question, I said, well, as far as I'm concerned, if we could come up with a plan where we were able to actually report up through the community association, where the sunshine laws don't control, we could talk amongst ourselves. The recommendations, proposals could still go from community association to the district if it was issues regarding district assets. It could be that we would be talking about safety issues that are on community association assets in the town center as well, because there are some down here in this area that we have no jurisdiction over, but need to be, in my mind, need to be addressed. So I kind of saw it as an opportunity to improve efficiency. And I know that because I read the draft minutes that were incorrectly added to the agenda, that the community association had presented something along those lines to PPAC back then in June, July, early July timeframe. So I think it's worth discussion. And Nancy Straw is here from the Community Association, who I think you may have a perspective that would be valuable for this subcommittee to hear.
This is Nancy Straw with Pelican Preserve Community Association. I'm going to pass those around, Andrew. This is something that's been discussed at a lot of meetings at the board of supervisors, at PPAC, mostly at PPAC. And as you indicated, the community association has talked about the possibility of the subcommittees, the 3 subcommittees coming directly under the community association. And like with any decision, there are pros and cons to that. One of the biggest pros is what you just mentioned about the sunshine laws. It makes it very hard for any 2 of you to talk about anything, or actually to learn everything you need to know during this time frame of this meeting, because there's a lot of detail involved in the things that you're working on. So the handout that was passed around, I've distributed before, July 13th, PPAC is the most recent. And on the bottom of there, the top part you can just ignore because that was on the previous one, but the bottom part that I handed out July 13th, the blue information is new information that I added with some questions. And I think there are some ways that we can still work through this and have different outcomes. Faye and I for our board president and I are meeting now with Jennifer, with Chelsea, with Laura and John Grega from PPAC. And we're working on the O&M agreement. I think there's another option we haven't even talked about, and that is, could the committees report to the community association? PPAC stays as is, and all of the financial matters are still handled the same way they would be with the structure that's currently in place. That would give the GSCDD all the accountability and transparency that they would need from a financial perspective, I think. And PPAC still is subject to sunshine, so it would go through that body before it would go to the board of supervisors. Plus, it's a check and balance on the community association because we have PPAC there. And while they advocate for Pelican Preserve, they're also taking care of our tax dollars. So you can look at the individual items here. I mean, I think it would decrease the workload for the CDD staff, probably increase our workload here a little bit. That's not necessarily a big deal. It would give the community association a chance to retain a much closer working relationship with the CDD. If we go with the structure that's in place right now and continue with that, I think there's going to be a widening distance between the community association and the CDD as time goes by. Right now, the way the structure is, the CDD would have to recruit volunteers for any committee opening that we have. I think that would be hard because most people here don't know who the CDD is. And so if it came under the community association, we would be responsible for recruiting people to those committees. There could be 1 rep from the community association that went to PPAC, or the 3 chairs of the committees could come to PPAC with a board representative. I don't think it has to be one or the other. There'd be options there as well. The meeting rules would change, as we've talked about sunshine. All the committee members would be covered by our directors and officers liability insurance because they would function like other committees do here. Randy Bottleson actually talked briefly about, there's one issue in our committee guidelines that we just adopted in June that probably at least a word or two needs to be changed because it says something about the chairperson will be appointed by the community association president. I think we might want to change that to approved because the board president doesn't know who we want for your committee chair. Right? So that's kind of a minor. Also, there's one here about the spending threshold increase to 10,000. That's part of it that I see as negotiable because if things continue and all the bills still go to the CDD to be paid, I don't know that we need that account here for the community association to draw down money, spend money, draw down from CDD, so on. That's maybe not the best system. So it's been in place, but it may not be the best. And then subcommittees could retain their structure, obviously. And irrigation and landscaping already are working closely together. Now I think that's going to be combined on the landscaping budget. So that'll just tie that even more closely together. But those are just a few of the thoughts I have as I went through this. I think there are things that we could still look at in terms of the structure. And we're having very good meetings with Laura and Chelsea and John Grega. Jennifer, I'm including you because you're here today. But I think we had a good first meeting. We meet again this week to talk about this a little more. It does not look at this. Yeah, can I finish just a second?
Oh, yeah, I thought you were done. Sorry.
Oh, no, I just had one more thought. I don't think at this time there's going to be an immediate change to anything unless a committee desires it and we work through PPAC. That would be the most obvious way we would go forward with this. But okay, I'm done, Laura.
Okay, I had actually the question is for you. Can you clarify a comment that you made at the PPAC meeting, just so that I'm sure I understood it correctly? When you gave the same information, you presented your case and handed out the paper and discussed, the pros and cons and where you see things. You had made a statement that the subcommittees would no longer have decision-making authority and return to fact-finding committees only. Can you just...
I didn't use the term fact finding, I don't think, Laura, because we don't talk about that in our committees, but all of the committees under the community association only advise and recommend. That also provides another layer of assurance, I think, to the CDD, because they would advise or recommend to the community association board, and then we would bring those recommendations forward to PPAC. We're not making decisions. The community association would not have to be making those decisions. It would still go to PPAC and ultimately to the board of supervisors. Is that better?
Yeah, thanks.
This is Dean again. And just to clarify, on that point, I think I know that my perspective is that we've been operating in a mode of recommending to PPAC actions to be taken that they would act upon and then forward recommend to the Board of Supervisors as well. So I don't see any change in that from that perspective at all. We are in discussion and recommendation, but we are struggling greatly to have those discussions to get to the point where we can make a recommendation because of the way that the rules apply.
Yeah, this is Bob Gebert. I really don't disagree with anything that Nancy has said, but I would kind of like to point out that the safety and security group up until now has really not fully embraced their charter. And by that, I mean, ponds have been running 15 years. They got it on. Landscaping took over in October 1st of last year, and they're now rolling along and getting quite comfortable. And if you look in the community, you can see the good things they've done. This group really doesn't take effect until October the 1st. We do what we don't, but I mean official. So as of October the 1st, you will be controlling your budget. You will have specific dollars assigned to you. You will be making the recommendation to PPAC, whether it's community association or not, that will be the same. But right now, when you, October 1st, when you say we want to spend 30,000 to do X, Y, Z, if it's in your budget, it's pretty much a slide through PPAC. They're going to support the various committees. At least that's what they've done for the 17 or 18 years that I've seen. So there is a significant change that is coming for you. To me, the upside of going to PPCA was what we just talked about. The ability to communicate, the ability to get things done efficiently and effectively. And that has been a challenge. There's no two ways about it. But up to, as of the last PPAC meeting, both ponds and landscaping said they may not love what they've got, but it's a workable solution going forward. So my only comment to you guys is I personally feel, shared this with Nancy before today, I would like to see you get off and running October 1st. Like that's your set date no matter what. And if 6 months or 8 months or a year from now, you say, hey, we tried it, it ain't working to us. It's just not functioning the way we want. I would totally support reviewing and looking at it again and the possibility of change. Because I believe that it's worthwhile. But I'd like to see at least get up and running to see if the challenges are too great to resolve.
Okay.
That's-
can I-
That's
oh,
my comments.
This is Randy. This committee has been up and running based on what we had been given as a charter in the past. Took on additional things as far as safety relative to structures in roads and things like that that are normally public works items. This group has basically been forced to accept any funding going directly now to the district, taking away what was in the past mostly done on O&M agreements. And so let's clarify that.
Well, that's a good point.
And
Those
and
decisions.
and I was the only one who didn't vote for that at the PPAC meeting because they hadn't told me to.
Okay.
They hadn't approved it. And the same kind of thing with this situation.
To argue with you. Just saying that PPAC made the decision.
Yeah, but this is what you want to do, Bob, and this is what you've always
Okay,
wanted to
okay.
do, and you've gotten to
Everyone,
this point right
okay.
now.
Let's,
If this committee, I told them I would support whatever they choose to do.
and I've said the same.
Yeah, except that you're saying you put that off, and if they choose to want to do it now, I would say give them a year to do it, and then let them, anybody who doesn't agree with it a year from now, can say, we want to change that.
I'm gonna step in just for a moment here. Okay, I think I'm just gonna summarize. I think what Randy's saying is he didn't vote for it because we had not had the opportunity as a team to discuss it, which we're gonna do today. And he represents us, so we need to take that in mind. So I think we need to make sure we all have an opportunity to voice our questions, concerns, issues, support, whatever it might be. And I think he also said, if I can paraphrase a little bit, that we have had a charter in the past and we had been acting toward our charter, but it has evolved a bit over the course of time.
Yeah, and when I say you're not officially constituted, I mean, you didn't have budgetary control. When you
Right.
have the checkbook. you have
And
the
we've
control.
got some time today to talk about that as well.
Absolutely, and that's what takes effect October the 1st, and that was not by happenstance. When PPAC voted on this, and Randy, PPAC has already voted this. The money moved for landscaping in 2023, 2022, 23 budget. The money moved for safety and security in the 23-24 budget. I didn't do that, PPAC did. So that part of it's done. So when I'm talking about you.
You wrote the budget and you pushed the budget. It got put in front of it. Somebody asked asked Laura, what did she recommend? She said, I recommend that you have to take all of these items to the district. That's how it transpired.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in again because,
Wait a minute, Jeff.
Okay.
He keeps throwing out unfounded allegations. I didn't write any
Allegations.
allegations. The budget was written by Sharma. We merely took his numbers, dollar for dollar for the past 5 years and moved to where they appropriately looked together. There was no additions, there was no subtractions. So we took what the community association representative under Castle had created as the budget. Well, this is easily verified. Now, when you say things were jammed down your throat, like safety or like road repair and sidewalk, that's not true. It was always done by somebody. So if the decision that PPAC made to move this money into the Safety and Security Committee, those were the items. And I agreed, and I told you that the district will handle anything the group is not up to. The district has the resources. We do it for all the other committees. But please just keep this as an academic discussion because it isn't personal. Although you seem to be making. That's all I got to say.
Okay, I'd like an opportunity, I don't know what you were gonna say, so I'm just gonna jump in, and if you think it's okay for you to. I'd like an opportunity for the team to voice any questions, concerns, issues, et cetera, so
I just
I'll
wanted
trust
to
your
respond
judgment.
to one
Okay.
thing about the budget process and the way it has been and the way it would be in the future. I don't really know that that would change a great deal effectively because Jennifer Lewis works with each of the subcommittees or working groups to develop their budget. If you went under the community association, that would come to the community association. It would go on to PPAC. We would have very little reason to dispute your recommendations that I can understand. It would still go to PPAC for approval by the Board of Supervisors. So that part of the process really would change very little. Just in my. Okay, thanks, Jim.
Yeah, sure, okay. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about that in another agenda item today, I think. Okay, members of the committee, I know I have some thoughts, but any other member of the committee, would you like to express anything before I jump in?
Well, I just have one because Danny Clemens, you say that there'd be minimal involvement by the community association on our recommendations to spend money. What recommendations would they deny? And based on what?
I have no idea why they would. I don't know that we have any board members as knowledgeable about safety and security as this group, which is why we have many committees right now. We have a communications committee that consists of people with communications expertise. I'm not on that committee for good reason. And we have no reason to deny what they come forward with. I mean, it would have to be something really major and we would disclose it publicly. It's not like we just offhand say, oh, no, we're not going to accept that.
But there will be a follow-up with the committee to reconvene to discuss it with the
Yeah.
board.
Thoughts?
Good, I'm listening.
Okay, terrific, terrific. Yeah,
Ted Crawford, anything that will make us work more efficient. My greatest frustration with this group is we just don't get things done. You know, we've been wrestling with things for years, it seems. If this will help, I'm all for it. I don't care what I'm under. You know, put me where you want. I just want to get some things done. And we just, you know, this intersection, I mean, my God, we've got 20 people holding up the whole world. Anyhow, that's my thought. If this will help, I'm all for it.
okay. I also think that the sunshine laws have been difficult to work under in the last few months. I actually thought we got some work done in the past, maybe not as much as we would like, but we actually got a lot of work done. And we seem to be at a screeching halt at the moment, and it's because we can't talk to each other. So I'd love to see that taken out of the equation. I do have a concern that I'd like to discuss in terms of going under the PPCA, because Nancy did tell me where I could find the information about how committees are actually structured and work. And I had an opportunity to go to a couple of meetings to just see how some of that stuff actually occurred. My concern is that the rules and regulations that say the other committees might work under are things that might be more easily understood by the PPCA. We work with the city of Fort Myers. We work with the CDD. We work with a lot of different companies that might not be and rules and regulations that might not be as known to them. And my question and concern is, will that just give us another stumbling block? Or, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but you know, there's a learning curve associated with all of this. Will that learning curve put us in a different, maybe same, maybe worse, maybe short term, maybe it's longer term situation where we're not going to get stuff done because people don't understand? We were talking about Vicenza earlier today. That whole situation, you think, geez, how hard could this be? Remove what we've got, put what we want in there. It's a reasonable price, etc. But it's just not that simple. So I don't know if that made sense, but those are the kinds of concerns I have that I'd like to understand a little bit before we just jumped in there. Because we do have a big change coming up within our committee starting October 1st, and the management of our budget is going to probably, I think it's all been decided, move from KW to our team, and our team hasn't had a lot of time to talk about that because of the sunshine laws. So we've got some challenges ahead of us, and I'm just wondering, you know, given those challenges, how many challenges do we really want to take on at one time? If our whole goal is to get stuff done a little faster than we've been able to get stuff done. So I don't know if you have questions or comments about some of that. Yeah.
So, I'm not sure I followed the first part, but were you asking if the community association would have to know and understand your relationships with all these different entities before we could accept a recommendation that you made, or?
In essence, yes, but also just as I was reading through the information you pointed me to on the internet, it looked like there was like a counseling sort of relationship there. I don't know if that's the correct term. That's not what it was used in the document. And so if you have a representative that is between you and another body, like we have Randy, but Randy understands a lot about what we're doing. You know, you don't have to spend a lot of time talking about, okay, we have to worry about getting a traffic study before we can put a new sign in. We don't have to worry about the, yeah.
So
That's the
board,
kind of learning.
the board liaison, was that what you referring to?
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm not using all the right terms.
Very similarly to how Randy is your board liaison here from PPAC. I'm the committees I serve on, the strategic planning committee, for example. I'm there as a board liaison. I zip it when I'm there. That's their committee. If they have questions related to board activities or what the board might do about something, I'm there to answer those questions, but I'm not participating in the strategic planning or the formation of their action planning groups. And it would be the same with this group. If I was the board liaison, don't know that I would be, but if I were board liaison to safety and security, I don't believe it would be upon me to understand day one, all the issues with that intersection at Vicenza. Much like I've been going to the PPAC and GSCBD meetings, it's a learning curve. It's huge.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very big learning curve, but you don't come in as an expert right away and you don't expect to become that way. So it's a process to me.
And
One comment to, this is Bobby, to Ted's point about frustration. We all share that, absolutely. But I would say this, the sunshine has only been involved in the last 6 months. We've been dealing with that intersection for 3 years. So communication, that didn't hurt it. It hasn't helped it, but it certainly didn't hurt it.
Right, it's just an example
Right. I
of something mired in a lot of law and
It was a great example.
technicalities.
That's the biggest challenge in the community. But I'll just go back to the fact that one of the biggest problems we've had as a group was we never got a quorum. You know, to Dean's point, we couldn't talk. Well,
Yeah.
we now at least have enough people that there will be a quorum going forward. A much easier way to get a quorum.
Yeah.
so, to the point, Jennifer, about, the bodies, the entities that we deal with, which are different than the entities that ponds and landscape deal with. And I don't know that ponds and landscape has like a lot of involvement with the district. Perhaps they do. I don't know. But if they're going to do something that affects the, the vegetation in the pond, I don't know how deeply the district gets involved in those.
So Son says quite a bit.
Do they? Okay. So,
Laws.
but my point is, and I would expect, regardless of any change or if we change, that we would still be in a position to be recommending what we believe is proper, is appropriate, is feasible, is prudent, is a wise expenditure of public monies that is consistent with the rules that we have to work under that are imposed on us by the city of Fort Myers, by the Gateway District, et cetera. So I would expect we're still going to have that, even if we reported to the community association, And I would expect that the community association would have faith in our positions and our recommendations. And maybe there's some room for discussion, but it's still at the end of the day, it says, well, what is it that you recommend and why? And if there's that mutual respect, I don't see it as anything other than a win to move things along, because it is frustrating.
This is Laura. I have a question, kind of piggybacking off what you just said. I guess it's more for Nancy. If they would move under the PPCA, who would handle all the vendor contacts now? Like, for instance, I know Dean reaches out a lot, like to FTE, and they deal directly with the vendors. I would assume that would change.
Sure, why it would change, Laura.
Well, if they're not, it would, the way that I interpreted their role, that would change that they wouldn't have direct contact with vendors. The groups wouldn't.
That's not true. No, I don't think so. Our committees have contact. We had a bulk services committee that negotiated our new hotwire contract here. They had direct contact with several vendors for Wi-Fi services. So no, I don't see why that would change.
Okay, thanks.
This is Randy. One thing I wanted to mention is that this is a subcommittee of PPAC. So if you choose to want to vote to go to community association, it's still going to need an affirmative vote from PPAC, in my opinion. So I don't know how that would turn out with 7 members. But I voiced, the last meeting I voiced Dean's favoritism to going to that, and so they're aware of it. Whether they would vote to affirm it is a whole nother story. But I'm not sure the urgency of this either, with the O&M agreement seemingly getting gutted and all the stuff that's going on. I don't know. Some of these things, get just things just seem to drag on in terms of getting any resolution to them. So.
PPAC. So if the security subcommittee reports to the PPAC or the PPCA, how would the budget be transparent to the district?
Because they're already.
Would we see one line item for security, and that's it, and not see the breakdown of all the different items?
No.
Nancy Stragan, that's something I tried to mention earlier. We haven't talked about that in our negotiations yet, but I don't see why things couldn't remain the same as they are planning to go forward. So it would still all go through the CDD, yes. And Laura would have all the detail.
And in my world, the scope of the safety security group possibly gets a little bit larger to include the town center and the storage lot, and places that are community association assets, and therefore any recommendations for improvements, modifications, safety issues to be addressed there, those are directly to the community association, and they decide whether they want to spend their money on those sorts of things, not PPAC and CDD money. That's how I'm thinking, that they're just different pots of money.
The district assets on things that aren't district responsibilities.
I think because the entire budget's developed by this committee for CDD, and it goes through PPAC to the Board of Supervisors, and the one for the community association, that's a different budget that would come directly to the community association. They would essentially have 2 separate budgets.
That would be to answer your question, Laura would have to confirm because we haven't gotten into this process yet, but I think the financial reports that she puts out would have that kind of level of detail, so you could see, what we've been spending money on, and if anything ends up in the district coming from the district budget that should really have come to the PPCA of town center, then that should be obvious, I would think.
Well, for
Yeah.
Well, and I think,
Wait,
Yeah,
Sorry.
Just one
Yeah.
comment is Bob. Hans is the most mature group.
Yeah.
Every single invoice that comes in to be paid for bonds is reviewed by a bonds team member. To say XYZ company, yeah, we hired them, this is what they did, and the work is done. Occasionally you get something that doesn't belong
Yeah.
to bonds, and then you go back to the accounting people and said it's not there. But I don't think it makes a difference whether it's PPCA or PPAC. To Randy's point, and I mean to Marty's point, someone gets to adjudicate whether the charges
Yeah.
are proper. And most times it's not malicious, it's just they put it in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
That's all. But there is a way to control that. That's.
Yeah. Okay, Randy, did you? have
yes,
something?
Marty, digging through my files, we looked at this, I think, at the last PPAC meeting, and this is a proposed budget for the year. I don't think this is the final, but I think, where we had gotten to was a high water mark.
Yeah.
And PPAC hasn't yet discussed where we should be, but it is broken out. There's several line
I
items.
understand that. That's very transparent. That's what I like about that. But if you go under the PPCA, does all that money go somewhere else? And now it just shows up to the CDD
I don't
as
think so.
one line item.
I think the answer to that is no, Marty. We've
Yeah.
made a lot of progress. And just to say, we've made a lot
Nancy.
of progress toward transparency.
So-
And I don't see why we want to back up from that. So we need to
So-
discuss that in our meetings.
Why don't we let Laura answer that question?
Go ahead, Laura.
I couldn't hear the whole question. There was a lot of talking going on and someone in the background was very quiet. So can you please ask the question and I will answer it.
So I don't want to see the transparency that we currently have now for the proposed budget for the next fiscal year drop away from the transparency in the CDD and just become one line item with one number. Right now, it's completely broken out and it's very transparent where the money is being spent. I'm not sure I want to see that transparency disappear.
If the groups move under PPCA and the bills are paid by KW and we reimburse we reimburse the bank account, the Pelican bank account, you will lose all transparency. There will be one line with $1 amount.
So that would be if things automatically revert to the way they were handled financially before. I'm not sure that has to happen. I think we could explore the idea of keeping the financials in the detail that they currently are going to get without having the transfers back and forth between the community association and the CDD's bank account. I would like to see the transparency continue.
So the only way that would happen is if all of the invoices were paid by the district. But then
And
it's
they
kind of,
could be.
it doesn't, to me, that doesn't make sense to have the groups reporting to PPCA, but the district paying the bills. That makes absolutely, you can't have both. If they report to PPCA, then my opinion is they should be handled under the O&M reimbursement because they're being managed under that. If you want to see the transparency and the district pays the bills, then the committee should be under the district.
So under that scenario, if you pay the bills, Laura, they still go through PPAC, subject to sunshine, and they still go through the Board of Supervisors, subject to
don't.
sunshine.
They don't,
does-
not,
Why don't they?
the PPAC has given me, the committees are asked individually if the work is done to their satisfaction for invoices and we just process them. They don't need to be approved by PPAC. The only time that things go to PPAC is if it's like a new project that they want to spend extra dollars on. If something has been approved and an invoice comes in, there is no holdup. It has to go to the Board of Supervisors in the case of a project that's over my $30,000 limit and mine and Chelsea's $30,000 limit, and we have to have permission from the board. But that's only at the start of a project. Once everything is set, there's a purchase order issued, there is no holdup.
So that's a processing issue that we could still discuss, because clearly PPAC wants details. So am I correct? That's a processing issue that we could talk about?
I am not comfortable having the district pay bills for PPCA managed committees.
This is Bob again. And one of the issues we're skirting around right now and talking about, and it goes to the heart of Marty's question, is historically in the past, up until this coming October, invoices were paid based on, at the time, Castle saying, this is your responsibility and you got to pay it. And we did. And at the present time, some of those things are being re-reviewed and there are discrepancies, anomalies, whatever, that are being rectified and money's being reimbursed back and forth. So that's going forward in October. If PPAC handles everything, you won't have any of that stuff. But in the past, historically, there have been some issues. And as Laura said, there was just one line item and everything fell under that line item. And what I think I'm hearing from her is if this group decides to go, PPAC affirms them to go back, then the district would like to go back entirely and not be involved in it. And that, that's okay. That's a debate.
Yeah,
But just understand the difference.
Yeah, this is Dean again. It brings me back to 7th grade when there was I saw a poster on the wall in my science class. It said, success comes in cans, not in camps. So if we think about what we can't do, we will always not be able to do something. But if we think about, doing things differently, being open to the possibility that there's another way to achieve the same objectives. And let's figure out a way to do that, a process, as you suggest. It strikes me, if we want to do it, that there's enough smart people around that can figure out a way to do something rather than not do something.
I mean, that's exactly my point in moving forward.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's
It'll be the first time we've done it.
But that's a different point.
Well, but I'm saying. we're
Yeah, but
trying to do
I'd like to add on to that because it could be something, and I'm not saying this is the answer, but it could be something as simple as part of what we would do if we reported into the PPCA is we give a report to them for the board of directors meeting, correct? Why not just attach to that a simple, I don't know how simple, but whatever, a list of here's what, here's our financial report, a very quick and dirty financial report saying this is what we've been spending the money on, this is where we are in each of the projects or something like that. And that might not only give the PPCA information, but it might also give PPAC the information that they would need with that additional detail. I mean, something like that, you'd have to figure out the process. But I mean, it could be something as simple as that. I don't know if that would be acceptable, but
So can I chime in real quick?
yeah.
This is Chelsea. So a couple things, because I haven't been listening the whole time. I just jumped in. So it seems that the basic premise is the concern of sunshine. So my question to you as the committee is, what do you feel that we have not accomplished in a timely manner? That's my first question. And to everybody's point, and to Dean's point, talking about what we can do instead of what we can't do. I can promise you that regardless if the Safety and Security Committee comes underneath the district or if they go under the community association, processes are going to be implemented and we're going to figure it out one way or the other. We've done that over the last year with the other subcommittees and formalizing those. We're going to have some kinks. And we're going to have some things that we're going to have to troubleshoot, but we're going to figure it out. But my question to the committee, what do you feel that we have not accomplished in a time-sensitive manner that is directly related to sunshine?
We have one example, the Wiser Post orders. We've been working on this since, I'm not sure when it actually started. I think late last year sometime.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, since we actually started this iteration of it.
Yeah.
And we can only talk about it during meetings. We try to do things via email, but that got a little bogged down. And so here we are in almost August, and we still haven't finished those. I can't help but think that if we had the opportunity to do some offline discussion, that we might have finished that a lot sooner.
I think
That's my
that's
example.
a great point. I think that there's other instances. I know I've tried to have information shared with the group that's been suggested that it can't be shared because that would be considered daisy chaining. And that's against the sunshine laws. And all it does is postpone the eventual discussion. And we have to wait another month. It's just, there's a lot of things, Chelsea. It may not be a specific example, but certainly the post orders are a good example.
Yeah,
Already made to tell PPAC again. So what is stopping you from calling up Laura and having her set up a virtual meeting? Where all of you can be on your cell phone and have a forum.
We can't do it.
Discuss it.
You have to.
Why can't you have a virtual meeting?
We have to be present.
That's public.
It has to be present. At least 4 people have to be present in person.
Quorum, yeah.
Yes.
Well.
Dean,
you can have
in order
quorum
to
online.
vote, you have to have a physical quorum. There's nothing stopping from having a published meeting where you guys just discuss things. You just can't vote on anything without the quorum.
So they can't have a Google meeting that's open to the public? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, just.
You know,
this
they
is it.
can absolutely have a Google meeting open to the public. It's just that without a physical quorum, they have to be like in the room, physically in the room together. They can't vote. But as far as these post orders, we certainly could have published meetings in between where we had, everybody got together on a Teams meeting to discuss it and we hammered through the post orders. That could have absolutely happened.
So is
It's just that they
lowering the
couldn't, they
law
can't
that
actually
have
make
to
a
be
vote. They could just
physical?
make
Yeah.
recommendations.
But to Jen's point,
Okay.
you could have had those meetings, but you just couldn't vote. But you could have the discussions, then bring it up to the vote. Apparently, that's what.
Well, that's what I'm hearing too. Yeah. So it was not communicated, I guess.
You know, that-
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's this is Danny Clemens. That's something we need, now that we know,
Yeah.
we can go forward with that process, which helps out a lot for everyone. That we can go.
New learning, I think, for most of us.
But can we, with that same statement, can we distribute amongst ourselves comments and documents, emails? Or is it, just a verbal meeting?
The documents have to be public.
So if you're having a meeting, a virtual meeting, your documents won't be public unless you have a screen behind it. You can put it on like a,
Oh, I was answering a slightly different thing.
okay?
What I was answering was that it would have to be on an agenda and published that way. I don't know that we have to have it up on a screen or anything, do we?
Well, it wouldn't be public. If we're showing a document, let's say the budget, wouldn't be able to display the budget unless you can share your computer with the
But-
people on.
Well,
I think
your
it's a
documents can be
different thing.
uploaded into the agenda packet.
Exactly.
So all that becomes public.
That's what I was
This
saying,
is all
just like the
gateways.
Weiss. Yeah,
Right,
just like the Weiser post orders for today, which we may or may not get to at this point, but it's out there. Anybody can go and pull it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just add, I've listened in virtually to workshops for PPAC and also for GSCDD, and I've been physically present for them. And they're again, a little different animal. I know at one where I was not able to be present, they were going to talk about this. And Faye Formoso, our board president, had been expected to present. Several people in PPAC talked to her about her presentation she would be making. And that day she was not able to even speak until Chelsea O'Reilly asked her a question, and then she was able to get up and speak. So if you're going to have those workshop meetings, be sure you get all the protocol clarified. And if you're going to have expert witnesses come in or people with more information, I don't know what all you have to do, but make it clear that that could work for you.
Thank you. Bob, did you have your hand up? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm fairly new to the community, been here about a year. One of the things that I guess kind of concerns me from the safety and security is the community control and what's been taken out of post orders and what Weiser can actually do, because they can only do things for gateway assets. So we seem to be losing the community patrol, security aspects of things, and then the town center. So I think this group, from my perception, is a little different than some of the, like the ponds or whatever maybe, because we could provide input and value to the community association as well as the gateway around safety and security. Because right now, the stuff seems to be pulled back out of the gateway safety and security, what the officers can do, if they can even drive around, or when they drive around, what they can look at, what they can report. And so the community is losing the community patrol, and how is that, that needs to be picked up somehow, either, and it's not really town center property, it's the broader community. So to me, there's kind of a black hole there. That's one advantage of moving under the community association, is you can address the aspects of both gateway property, town center, and the community as a whole.
Okay, I'll answer that.
That's-
This is Danny. You're mentioning something about taking stuff out of the post orders. Nothing's been taken out of the post order because the security patrol is hired by the CDD with CDD assets. It does not perform any functions in the community other than driving through the streets.
But it
So-
used to.
Under the old contract,
Understanding.
well, that's
The contract for riser is with the district.
yes.
Is with the district, and they only pay for district assets.
That's the problem.
So,
That's the problem.
so community association has had some talks with Weiser about the community center and otherwise. So that could not change unless it's taken over by community association. Now, and that has been telegraphed by the district that they would like to do that. But it was gonna cost another $400,000 that we will now have to cough up from our fees to do this. So, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it would another $100 a household fees to pay for that particular thing. And then maybe we can get,
But before, I know that's the stuff under the Weiser contract. Things have been, before my understanding, and it may be totally erroneous, is that before that, as they did the patrol, they looked for garage doors open, and reported things and stuff like that. That may have been before the Weiser contract with the district. But, we just don't have the community patrol that I thought we had when we moved in here.
Well, this is Danny. Again, that's a misnomer. You've been misinformed. Yes, the other companies did perform some of those functions. And there was a lot of resistance by community members about having their phone rang, that their garage door is left open, and other things that were going on. So right now, the process that we're going through is to rewrite those post orders. That's our function. That's one of the main functions that I see I'm specifically here for. Rewriting that to accomplish the entirety for this community. Once we take it, if we can take it away from the CDD, we will have control over it to decide what functions we want patrol to do. Do we need a car for a certain amount of time? Do we need that many guards? Do we need to spend that kind of money? There's a lot more into it than what we're going through. The functions for Pelican is not beneficial to the community. It's a CDD function. CDD assets, that's it. Yes, the guard used to check the doors.
Yeah, we do
Yeah,
need to move on a little bit. I'll just say one thing on that. Maybe we can, I think we're allowed to talk offline. Maybe we can talk offline for a couple minutes because there's a lot of going on with potential new contracts versus merging with contracts.
Yes.
So, okay. Have we accomplished what you wanted us to accomplish on that agenda item?
I think so.
Maybe. Okay. Terrific. At the start. Okay, thank you. I think we'll probably have to talk about it again at some point in the future, but if we move on, we can talk about something that's coming up upon us on October 1st, and that's the budget management transfer from KW to the GSCDD, and how it's going to affect a number of different organizations. We talked about this in our last meeting. There's a grid in our package for today. Very brief background. There was a discussion with representatives from each of the stakeholder organizations, KW, GSCDD, the Safety and Security Subteam, and WISER. We talked about this in our last meeting. I represented our team. You all agreed that I could do that. We documented at a pretty high level, I will admit that, at a high level, how things were going to change as a result of movement of the budget. Today, what happens is with that O&M agreement that we talked about a couple of times, KW actually is sort of an interface. I mean, that's how I look at it, where all the invoices will come to them, they will pay it on behalf of the GSCDD. We're looking at moving to a situation where the bills basically go to the CDD, but the Security and Safety and Security Subcommittee will have a much more active role, I guess you could say, in that process. In the chart that you have in your package, let me just tell you how it got set up, and then we can go through it and we can ask any questions or raise any issues that we might have. It's broken up to 3 areas. One is administration, one is controlled access, and one is miscellaneous. And within that, we have a current list of responsibilities that KW performs as a result of the O&M agreement. What we then have is a number of columns. Who's going to do what after the transfer of the budget management occurs? We've got it broken out between the GSCDD, our subcommittee, WISER, KW, any kind of transition requirements that we might have, and some notes. This was about as far as we got in terms of actually operationalizing something. So we do have a little bit more work to do before this gets turned over. So the purpose of today's discussion really is to go through this. Hopefully you guys had an opportunity to look at it before you came to the meeting, and we can answer any questions or get any comments you might have. Any questions before we get started from the team? Okay, so let's just start at the administration at the very top. I'm just going to read each of the items. If you would take a look at any of the responsibilities, if you have any questions or comments after each of the items, we can talk about it. I'm not going to, read the chart to you. But under administration, we have review proposals. I'll just pause after each one. If somebody has a question or comment, jump in.
Just give an example of a proposal that we would be a contributor to.
That we would be a contributor to?
Because the column says the subcommittee is a contributor.
Right. Well, there are a number of proposals that are coming through right now where KW is actually taking the responsibility for. That would move to somebody else, and then we would still.
So proposals for refreshing pavement markings, proposals for.
Yeah, the lighting,
proposals for, okay, thank you. Thank you.
Sure. I didn't know if I saw a hand or not. Okay, submit proposals to PPAC for approval. Process invoices. Approve invoices.
You have a question?
Yes.
In the future,
Yes.
would there be somebody on the committee that would look at every invoice that's submitted before it goes to Laura?
I think so, but we haven't worked through the process of how that would
Ideally, that would.
that would
The
happen.
way that-
And
The
Yeah.
way we handle it with the other committees is that the chair approves them, like Mark approves his and Doug does his for pond. So that's something we could figure out, but that's the way that they do it.
okay,
So
Well,
presently,
Let me clarify real quick. It's attesting, the chair attests that the work is complete. It's not the approval. The approval is at the staff level.
Right.
so presently, I
contribute.
on occasion, I get an opportunity to review the invoice from Florida Transportation. And I express my opinion whether the work was done or not, and then send it forward for payment.
Yeah, that wouldn't change.
So it goes back to the district.
And if you're not happy, it doesn't get paid until you are.
Correct,
That's how it works.
So that's the contribution versus the approval, I
Right.
think. Okay. We were saying process and mailing checks, process month, and month end financials. I can't read.
Then the packets of reconciliation.
Yep, I'm just pausing for a second to see if there are any comments.
What you do
Right
not
now.
have right now, this is what you do not have right now, but you will have in October, is you'll have a running total every month. You'll know exactly where you are.
Mhm.
Whereas in the past, we've had a lag of 3 or 4 months. Now it will be real time.
I would like to see that because to Marty's point, at the last meeting, the idea of a financial report was 182 pages of additional invoices. You could call that transparent, but it's also a great way to hide what all the line item process items are.
Yeah, I'll give it all done. Sure.
Yeah.
But when Laura is telling you the money is not only spent, she'll also tell you what you have committed. So if you have $10 to spend for the year, she'll say, well, we're currently have committed of 9, only spent 7. So you got 2 to go, 1 more to go.
That's the financial report that we'll be getting every month.
Every
for this
month.
meeting.
And it'll also be available on demand if you need it. If there's a desire to have it in between, I can run the report like live as of that exact moment in time and give you an idea of exactly where you're at if somebody would like to see it in between the monthly updates.
Okay. Anything else on that one? Okay, inspect assets and make recommendations to PPAC or work groups on current projects or funding future projects. Prepare fiscal budget in accordance with the GSCDD and PPAC guidelines. Weekly emails to owners informing them on projects that will affect their access to areas. Meet with vendors to obtain bids on all PPAC projects and submit for review. Form PPAC of any items that could expose the community to litigation. Submit insurance claims as needed. Report all safety and security concerns to Gateway and PPAC. Okay, anything in general about administration?
Just, again,
Uh-huh.
in the context of being able to discuss. Meet with vendors to obtain bids, item number 11. That one in particular, inspect assets and make recommendations. There's got to be some sort of a communication that's happens, whether it's meeting with vendors. Is that one member of, and maybe that's part of the detail, but is
Yeah.
that one member of the subcommittee or is it multiple members? If it's multiple members, is that a public meeting? And, that sort of stuff. Or is it one person and it could be, we could assign certain people for different types of activities.
And that's how it's been done pretty much in the past. I think in the past, especially you do a lot of that work. Do you usually say before Sunshine Laws, did you really have other people come along with you to meet with the vendors, other people on the committee?
No.
Okay,
No.
so could still continue
Yeah.
with an individual.
Yeah, Dean, if I may, at White Ponds does it. One ponds member handles Solitude, handles Cypress Grove, another ponds member handles.
Yeah.
George Bowling's company, I don't remember the name of it.
Responsibility.
That's right. Peter all of that does anything to do with
Thank you.
conservation areas. So yeah, as you become familiar with what the areas are,
Yeah.
one of you just says, okay, I'll get one.
Yeah, and in the past, we've actually had lists where we had owners for each of the items, so.
And you have the support of Andrew. So like this morning, you
Well,
sent
that's
the
what's been
email.
helpful. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you said that on the sidewalks
Sure.
were heaved up, so he and I met with Gator
Yeah.
Construction this morning. But then it would be like you and Andrew, or Jennifer and Andrew would meet to
Yeah.
talk about the
Yeah.
sidewalk.
So somebody would have somebody would have street signs.
Yeah, how do we divide
And you're
it?
not limited to your core members. You can have members of the subcommittee that are not core members that can also take on some responsibility. Bonds has got 25 feet.
Getting people to
Oh, I see.
volunteer is not been easy.
Well, that I agree with, but I think that's.
Okay.
Yeah.
People get an opportunity.
Yeah, if it's a project they feel strongly about.
Yeah.
Anything else? All right, let's go on to controlled access. Update the post orders with the S&S subcommittee. Work with vendor to ensure post orders are followed as adopted. Review incident reports and forward to appropriate vendor or work group. Order gatehouse cleaning supplies. Gatehouse maintenance and repairs. Repairs and maintenance for gate systems. R&M for camera system. Traffic cloud speed sign maintenance and placement. Traffic cloud system monitoring. Meeting with the gatehouse supervisor. Follow up on all emergencies reported and obtain a police report if needed.
So gatehouse maintenance and repairs, we're a contributor to the district, but we would be responsible to review the invoices that came in. We'd be responsible to review the invoices that came in for those repairs and say, yes, that was done, or
Replace it, or replace it with.
What else? Okay, miscellaneous. Paint bridges. Schedule pressure washing for sidewalks, street gutters, and gatehouse. Check with contractors throughout special projects.
I hate to keep talking. Pressure wash. In the new budget, if approved, there will be a person, dedicated person from Gateway that is available to the 3 subcommittees. If it is determined that you have areas that need sidewalk pressure washing, that's the go-to person that would go and do it. As an example.
Has that budget and position been approved?
As I said, the budget's approved. It's in the budget. As currently is constituted. If approved, that's how we do that.
That employee will answer to Andrew and would take task requests from Andrew, but would also be available if you guys came up with additional ideas, like painting monuments or pressure washing sidewalks. That's something we can incorporate in that maintenance person's work schedule, but all of those would run through Andrew as his or her supervisor.
We just need to get a process set up. Okay. What else?
And is there going to be consideration for, okay, we say paint bridges, but repairs to bridges, inspections of bridges and the like? Is that something that somebody has on their plate?
Well, as of tomorrow morning at 10, I'm meeting with an engineer that Chelsea has scheduled with me to go and look at the bridges.
Good.
Chelsea, we're just looking at the 2 bridges on Pelican and then the one going into Trentino Estates. So those are the only 2 we need to look at?
The cart
Mark.
path bridges as well.
I'm sorry?
The golf cart bridge?
Golf carts, bridges?
The ones that are preserved.
Oh, you want him to look at the wooden bridges around the preserve as well that are being painted?
Yes.
Okay.
And the brick bridge between the old sales center and the community, that's
That's they told us that was ours. That was
is that yours?
PCA's. They said the one coming from Vicenza into the old sales
Not
center.
according to the tax documents.
Really? All right, I'll have them look at that bridge too, just so we have it
yeah.
covered.
If there's a problem, we'll sort out and pay.
Okay, that's fine. Let's have them look at that.
And so I want to also just add, so you guys know that what we're working on internally is we have it's called Cartograph. It's a work order system that Andrew is working on. Our utility staff have had it implemented for a little over a year. We're working on implementing it on the public works side. So we're hopeful that that work order program will help streamline the processes both internally and externally communicating with the residents.
Five roadway bridges that according to the Department of Transportation, annual expense.
You want to join me tomorrow, then? Are you available? Meeting with, Volker? We can talk after the meeting about that, but if you're available, it's a 10 o'clock meeting tomorrow.
At Trieste, the Pelican Preserve, or Stella, there's two of us. Over.
Okay, so, yeah.
Jen, I just sent you the list.
And that doesn't,
Okay, thank you.
and that doesn't include the 5 bridges associated with the preserve. Which is the bridge behind the Rocky Center. And there are 4 wooden bridges.
Yeah.
Around the preserve.
And we just got those for the proposal.
We have an engineering study for the 5 bridges around the preserve and the boardwalk itself in 2021. We should be good for at least another 5 years before we have to look at it.
Okay. I'll look for your email, Chelsea.
Well, Bob, that, you may think you're okay, but that's not what the Department of Transportation thinks.
Well,
But
what I'm saying, what, oh.
Yeah.
Well, roadway bridges, it says, has different expected annually. Yeah, this is not. Because, just because golf carts go across those bridges, I don't know if that constitutes a roadway bridge.
Yeah. Is signs,
Okay.
signs,
Street.
should probably be, signs and streetlights
If you're available.
should probably be included somewhere in here.
Was the list done? I thought we were.
That's it,
We've gone through the whole list.
that's it.
What about PERT?
What about
Like Reserve Emergency Response Team?
That's not part of our,
Should be, because it handles the guardhouse meetings, things like that. Oh, I'm sorry.
okay. Signs and that's interesting.
So we're going to be getting the GIS database for all of the signs. I think, right?
It's in the budget.
It's in the budget. And somebody's gonna be responsible for signs. And I would think that it would be part of, miscellaneous. It might be one of those line items.
Mhm.
Yeah. Ideally, one member would survey the community with the GIS folks. And place every sign, what it is, will all be put in the GIS map. Same thing with all the lights.
And
Every
street
light
lights.
should have an individual indicator of the lights, and we just need to build that database.
Yep.
And it's in the budget, yes.
Now, I thought that we had approved in $12,000 to have every street light and sign put on that Passarella.
Yeah, but it hasn't been done yet. Correct.
It hasn't been done?
Has not been done.
Okay, it had been approved, $12,000 been approved by PPAC quite a while ago.
And did somebody say they were gonna do it? I've not talked to Pastor.
They have a signed, is my understanding is they have a signed agreement with the district. Whether or not they proceeded.
To Marty's point, the funds have been, or to Randy's point, the funds have been allocated. But I don't know that anybody raised their hand and said, that's my task. I'll make sure it's done.
Right now, there is an agreement contract that's been signed with Passarella. And where is it? I don't know. Are they doing anything? They have notice to proceed. I don't know.
They're not doing anything yet. Quite honestly, I was waiting for the first part. But no, I'll just lay it out there. If somebody wants to take that on and said, I will do that, I will certainly shepherd with them and introduce them to the correct Passarella people. Walk through.
Well, I wonder if Laura would have information because within the last, it could be even 6 months ago, but within the last 6 months that was voted on and approved. The $12,000 to
We'll follow
add
up and
to
get back
that.
to you.
I am actually I've been talking to Passarella about the additional scope that you guys approved at the 7/13 PPAC meeting. So I sent them the documents. Apparently they didn't get them. And I'm literally typing the email right now as you guys are talking about it because she just asked about them. So
But nothing's been done yet, Laura, is that correct?
they have not started because they didn't get what I sent them on the 13th. So, or the 14th. So I'm resending it to them.
But it'd be very helpful if somebody in the group said they wanted to shepherd that.
Would you be able to copy somebody on the committee, subcommittee, when you do those kinds of communications? Because like I said, I understood that the agreement was signed several months ago. And I kind of assumed, but you know what happens when you assume.
But
that they were
we had the
working on it.
we had the initial scope of work for them for the fiscal year, but then there were some additional tasks that they had been asked to take on that would have exceeded your budget. And that's what was approved at PPAC. So they've had a PO to do work for you guys since like October, I think.
So who drives?
So if staff would handle this, but if you could select a member of your committee, that would be kind of like we were talking earlier about, like your project point person, that Laura can work or Andrew can work directly with Passarella and your committee point person to see this project over the finish line.
Okay, great.
So would
I'll
one
volunteer.
of you want to do that? We take over from Peggy, so. You got to volunteer?
Yo, I know that, but we, from the committee, we need to have somebody, so I
That's
just,
what I'm saying before, you don't have to all do it.
yeah,
Well, you have somebody reports to you.
yep.
And Ed is willing to do that for you.
And we understood that, yes. It's just that I kind of thought that things were moving. And,
I knew they were.
yeah, well,
I'm sorry.
Actually, Dean, I'm sorry. The one I was getting, there were some other Passarellas that were approved just a couple of weeks ago. There was an agreement for the safety and specifically for safety and security that was sent to them on May 11th.
But they're ready to do it. They just need
But-
direction.
but they're not doing it.
So if you take a motion to make Ed your point guy,
Yeah,
I will inquire as to the status of that particular agreement when I send them this other ones that they're saying they didn't get.
good, and then we can ramp up with you, Ed. That'd be great.
Okay, so you want to be the contact then, Dean?
Please. Yes,
Okay.
Please.
Noted.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just to the
I was
point, the
just-
minutes already reflect that Ed was going to be volunteered to help.
oh, we did?
Yeah, months ago, yes. So we're all set there. It's just a question of what's going on with the vendor.
okay. All right, anything else on this? Okay, the one thing I would like to bring up is we now need to get to the next level of detail in terms of how this stuff is gonna happen. Do we want to try to have the same kind of group get back together to talk about it, meaning a representative from KW? I'd be happy to represent our team. We can get Wiser involved, and then maybe Laura, I'll just volunteer. You can unvolunteer yourself if you'd like, from the
No, that's fine. 'Cause
GSCDD.
it would come to me anyway, so I will
Okay.
volunteer.
So would the team be okay if we brought that small sub-team back together to try to work on some of the more detail in terms of how this is actually going to work starting October 1st and bring it back to this team at our next meeting to walk through? Okay,
That's great.
yes,
Would you like a representative from the association?
if you'd like to
Oh, yeah,
participate.
the budget
that'd
for
be
fiscal
great.
24 will
Yeah.
be adopted August 17th.
Okay,
So just so you're aware of kind of
Sure.
timelines.
that would be fine. That'd be great. Would you? Okay,
Well, and
So-
perhaps I'm not clear, because I know that there was a lot of discussion on whether this committee was going to stay under the district or or move under the community association. I'm not clear on the direction the committee is moving.
we have not chosen a change at this point. The sub-team is just going to be talking about the budget movement.
So then to clarify, I guess that kind of answers Chelsea's question. You guys did not, I was trying to follow the conversations as well. So at this point, you're deciding to not make a change and the budget will move under the district as proposed and approved in June. And it'll be voted that way in August. And then the subcommittee is, this little group will get together to discuss how we're gonna carry out those tasks now once the budget moves over under the district.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, that wasn't clear.
Status quo.
Yeah, in terms of the.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is just budget movement, because there's a bit of work that we have to do to make sure we understand how everything's gonna flow. At the same time, though, I think we need to come up with a list of projects. So we know, and a project might be, the Wiser post orders, it might be whatever, but I think we need to start thinking about a list of projects for the team like we used to have
Yeah.
way back when, and it kind of went off the deep end.
Additional sidewalk grade.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That'd be great. So people could, I don't know how to do this properly, maybe, gosh, I don't know if it goes through Georgia or whatever. I'm happy to, because in the past, I actually kept that list of projects. And it had a quick little status, it had who the major owner was, et cetera. And so, yeah, Dean and Ted, you've seen those. And I'm happy to resurrect that and continue to do it. But we need a new list. So Jen just said she would get me a list of all the projects that she has.
Hopefully everything will be done by October
Yeah.
1st.
Yeah, well,
There was a compilation of lists happening within PPAC. Maybe Laura can speak to that. It had been suggested that we get all the subcommittees projects together on one spreadsheet.
okay,
Is Laura still on?
I think so.
I'm here.
Laura-
I stepped away for a second. I heard my name.
Okay, Randy was saying that you might have a compilation of all the projects from all the 3 subcommittees. Do you have something like that where you have a list of projects from the Security and Safety Subcommittee?
I'm not aware of such a document. I know we do have the capital improvement plan, if that's what he's referring to. There would be things that we're looking to do for like the next year. I can look. I'll work with Andrew.
Okay, if you have something, could you forward that on to me? Because I don't know how much you heard and how much you didn't, but I'm going to start creating a list of the projects that our team is working on. And just to get started, maybe a quick little description and who is the lead person from our committee.
That would be amazing. I'll see what
Okay.
I can find and get that to you, Jennifer.
Okay, thank you. And for anybody on the committee, if you have projects, everything from the police presence to the work, Danny, I'm pointing to you, you know, you getting out bids, et cetera, for things. If you could, and I don't know that you can forward it directly to me, but I think you may have to forward it to Georgia to forward to me. Would that be
Or
okay?
you can send it
with-
to me and then I can forward it to the group. Yeah.
Okay, if you would. So if anybody in our team has anything, and Jen as well, or Randy, whomever, just send it to me. I'll see what I can put together based on the information you send to me. We can start getting organized so that the processes we're going to do under this new budget plan, whatever you want to call it, might be a little smoother when we get.
And I wanna throw out there too, that just, I mean, as we're kind of doing all this stuff, we have our smaller subcommittee to talk through the processes. And if anybody on the committee has questions about any of this stuff, like in the transition, if you're not sure how something is gonna work, you can absolutely email me and you and I can speak with you guys outside of meetings. So we can have conversations
Right.
back and forth if you have questions. And then if I find that I'm getting the same question from a lot of you, I can actually compile like an FAQ kind of thing and saying, look, I've been asked all of these questions by multiple people. So here's the answer to the questions. And I can put something like that together and communicate that outside of your meeting. Because it's not
That'd
something
be
that you're going to vote
fantastic.
on. It's an informational item. So
Okay,
you know, so I mean, we're here and I can talk to you guys outside of the meeting. You don't have to wait to get together if you have these kind of questions. Absolutely send them anytime. I'm more than happy to answer.
that'd be terrific. Thank you. Danny just handed me a list that we had compiled. This is a list of projects that would require funding in the budget. We do have other projects that would be outside that scope. So yes, I'll definitely use that. That's a great reminder. But there are other things that are going on. Yeah.
Jen, you might want to reach out to Peggy Hall if you're interested, because she was trying to get this on a list that she had and a spreadsheet that she used for ponds. At
Okay,
the same time, Jen, we had I'd asked you to provide Jen with, our projects.
Mhm.
And so that's where part of that was being compiled. So I guess it never became an active project at EPAC, but it was brought up.
Okay,
But Peggy Hall, I
no,
don't
it's
know
good
if you
on
want
that.
to have landscape, or I mean, their project on it, but
I don't know if I'd want to have her projects on the list, but it would be interesting to see the format.
okay, so, yeah, why
Yeah.
don't you reach out to her?
Okay, we are at almost noon. And we haven't gotten to the last agenda item.
I can say if others can.
I can only stay for a short while.
There's
Yeah. Oh, is there something else?
one thing I would like to suggest that you discuss is where we're at with the bike lane now. We were told at the last meeting here that we could absolutely use any engineering firm that we wanted. At the last PPAC, when I brought up that we didn't want to use this Tetra Tech, what do they call it, task authorization for $6,500. I was told you cannot do that. So
Laura corrected
But
that.
then
Yeah.
Laura.
Yeah, I clarified that at the start of the meeting. You guys can move ahead with Florida Transportation if that's what you'd like to do, because that's their specialty. That's an exception to having the district engineer have first right of refusal, because that's not their specialty.
okay, so now can we move forward?
So we're back to communicating with FTE to get a meeting together
Okay.
and move forward.
Is now at the other thing, Dean, based on what you've seen with this, you said something about 15 measurements? Or so?
Yes, the task authorization that Tetra Tech had prepared was included taking 15 spot measurements throughout the community of existing shoulder lane and travel lane widths. So that they were going to go around to different locations to confirm, basically, that there's a 4-foot shoulder lane and that there are travel lanes that are 11 or 12 feet wide, whatever they are. And that was going to form the basis of what could be used, what area of the roadway could be used for bike lane.
Would that be a drop dead requirement in order to get a permit or to apply for a permit?
Well,
I mean, Andrew and I did some measurements,
yeah.
on a couple of spots on there, and
Well, as the engineer, so now I'll put as a consultant hat on it. Okay, I would say, before I put my seal, my stamp on a drawing that says, I agree with this is proper and meets regulations. I, as the engineer, would insist that I confirmed, I verified existing conditions. I wouldn't say I need to have complete survey throughout the community, but some spot measurements. And whether it's 15 of them or 10, so it's a few hours of time to go through the community and verify that this is the width that we have.
so how do we want to proceed from here? Is there a way that we can kind of
Well,
get moved on this?
well, that's with the conversation with Florida Transportation and ask them for a
Okay.
proposal to do what's necessary to confirm adequate widths and then develop recommendations for pavement markings and signage that meets the manual and uniform traffic control devices that can get approved by the city.
Okay,
Dean, this is Bobby, if I may, I would suggest that you make that proposal right now. Everybody vote on it, put an out not to exceed number, so that when you get back what you like, Randy can take it feedback and go, you don't lose another bus. But we think it's gonna be 5,000, not to exceed 10. We think it's gonna be 10, not to exceed 5. But if you approve that now, then you face about it.
We could do that. I'd recommend that, I'd propose that we have a budget number of approximately $15,000 to have Florida Transportation Engineering develop appropriate plans for implementation of bike lanes on Cypress Grove Drive and Pelican Preserve Boulevard and Prado Boulevard,
Not to exceed it.
not to exceed $15,000. Do I have a second?
I second Danny.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
All opposed?
So we have that as a,
Not to
Kind of
exceed
marching
15K.
and if the
Please be-
number,
Please
the
be
number
sure
they
you
come
write that
back
up
with
to
is-
get on the next P-PAC agenda.
if the number that they come back with is more, then I'll have to come back to the.
Right.
To the group.
But that's within Chelsea's spending authority. It's in your budget, so. Should be good.
And what was the Tetra Tech number? Just to do do we have theirs? They proposed?
We don't even need it.
$49,000.
49? Okay.
49,000, some number like that.
Okay, I was looking for this.
Oh, you mean the original one?
Yeah,
$48,000.
okay.
I was guessing. I had a recollection. It was a big number.
This is,
This is how we're gonna do it.
this is the kind of stuff that
I would have done.
puts a stop to things. We get some ridiculous
Yeah.
situation like that at P-PAC, and it just gets kicked down the road.
And 15 might not be the right number either.
It may not be, but,
But it
and,
gives you a start.
you know, and I wouldn't even necessarily go to P-PAC with it until we have something firmer, because, I don't see any resistance to creating that bike lane by anybody, frankly.
No.
It just needs to be a more reasonable amount.
Yeah.
And we just need to be good stewards of our tax dollars. And that's all we're asking to do. And,
So if Dean gets a number of 10,000 next week, you can tell him, you take a feedback in your next meeting and it's going.
absolutely.
All right, Ted, you were asking something.
Ted Crawford, when did this come up? I didn't
You
realize.
were out of the country.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
So are you talking about God knows, that's incredible. Exclusive bike lane, no cards?
Like we used to have.
So we've come full circle from 10 years ago.
Well, pretty much.
So we can go out there and erase all that black paint that we.
Now we'll put the chef.
That we put over that.
Don't say we
Wow.
never get anything done.
Well,
And we have a quote for the painting of those bike
okay,
icons as well.
I should
At least
leave
10.
more often.
It's you.
Now we know.
Obviously, I should know.
He's an old timer.
But these are, this is one of many items that when I talk to the president's council, it's kind of like, well, we've heard that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's baffling.
That we just can't seem to execute. And it's always these little things that trip
I
us
thought
up.
there was, well.
And some of it is government regulations.
I'll
and
say no more, I'm happy.
Yeah. Okay. I can't really stay too much longer, so we need to figure out what to do with, the Wiser Post orders. Can we test our newfound knowledge and schedule a meeting? I guess we'll call it a workshop, to go through these orders as, were published within the meeting packet agenda packet, whatever.
Yeah.
And talk through it and then vote on it at our next meeting.
Let's do that.
Okay, can people check their count? Yes.
I just said, well, I started reading them this morning and I got confused with consistency of terms. Because it seems like some places it refers to a guard and some as an officer.
Right.
And I wasn't sure if it was talking about the same person or not. So
Yeah, we've had that discussion with them, that
Yeah.
it's a generic form that they submitted that, like I said earlier, does not benefit the group because it's written by them for them. Majority of that document that we shouldn't even be interested in. Their personal stuff is not a post order for us. There's no direction in there what we want them to do here.
yeah, it's just
Okay.
some of the
Yes, it's,
terminology is not consistent.
Yeah,
and we're
exactly.
working on that, but we wanted them to clarify that. That's their document, not ours.
Let's look at our calendars. And if you want, I'll give you a 2-minute background on, because I've lived through the wars. How about next week's people available? Let's see, next week. Available Monday, it should be available Monday. Monday next week? Yes, the 7th, I'm sorry.
Yeah, between 10 and 3, I can do it.
I'm sorry, oh,
Between 10 and 3.
I'm good.
that long?
The 7th.
I hope it doesn't take that long.
Oh.
So, you know.
Yeah, oh, that's when you're available. Oh, I thought that was your.
Yeah, that's your order to get lunch or something.
10 o'clock good?
Oh, never, 10 o'clock's never good for me.
Oh, okay. You want it?
Anything in the afternoon, I'm open.
Okay, 1 o'clock? 1 to 3?
I can do it.
Okay. Can you tell if we can get a?
1 to 3 on Monday.
I'm not sure. I think I'm on the road again. Check up that way. Probably.
Once you guys decide on a date and time, we can just move or copy this particular agenda item and all of its attachments over to that meeting.
Okay,
Is Monday would be 1 week, so we have to get it posted today.
It's a little more
Yeah.
flexible with the subcommittees, but the sooner the better, yes.
but you should, but I think your point just now is that you have all the information that you need.
Yes. Yep,
Yeah.
we just need to create the link for the meeting and then just publicize when and where it's going to be.
I need to create a link?
No, we will. We take care of that.
Oh, okay. When you said you, I just want to make sure I don't need to do something.
No, you guys don't need to do anything except tell us when you want to meet and where
Okay.
it's going to be, when and where.
Okay, we're checking on the room right now. Well, Jen is checking on the room right now.
Hopefully you'll have AC by then.
Yeah, we're gonna have to switch the room over. Hopefully the theater's available, so you and Chelsea meet here.
I saw that. Yep, I saw your
Yeah.
email.
You don't want to meet in that other room. We'd all be really
Okay.
grumpy by the time we all have.
Okay, so the theater is available then?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm
No, I
sorry.
don't. We
Okay,
have
you're
to switch
checking.
meeting we're having.
We have a meeting this
2
afternoon,
hours.
Chelsea and I do with Nancy and Faye and Jen.
Okay. Just give us a moment, folks. Oh,
If I can have everybody sign in the sign-up sheet that didn't yet, that's present.
That's a fact.
Yeah, sorry. No, I was.
It's for anybody.
So they want to meet, Monday the 7th at 1 o'clock, we just, whatever you have available. 1 to 3.
We're gonna pass that.
You're good.
Yes, well, we're getting that.
Sorry.
I mean, they people in my own. And it has a screen in there. That small conference room, Mark is asking me to change over to a small updated profile there at some point. I'll do this. Don't have anything available. The Pelican Lounge, Pelican Conference Room. This is both for the Red House.
She's still on that.
It's booked.
Sure.
Theater, what's that?
Music.
Oh, yeah, what about the music? Sure, no worries.
They're not playing cards. Go to card room.
Oh, interviews and,
okay.
oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
This is Georgia. I just wanted to make it available. Our boardroom is available that day, if you'd like.
Why don't we just meet over at Gateway?
Okay.
Yeah, never mind, we're gonna meet over
Yeah.
at Gateway.
If we do that, can we make it at 1:30?
No worries.
Yeah.
If we do it, I don't need to move it to like 1:30 so I could get there. Okay, so it's gonna be 1:30 Okay, August 7th, 1:30 to 3:30. It's gonna be at the Gateway Building, the boardroom.
And make sure it's
Oh.
right.
I'll give anybody a ride that needs a ride.
Just can't talk about anything.
Just don't talk. Can we open the back door?
You can talk about anything you want, just nothing that you would vote on.
Okay. We,
All right, we'll get that agenda item copied over for that meeting then and get your link all set up for you.
terrific, thank you. All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn. Danny Clements.
And second,
Second, Ted Crawford.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you. All right, we are adjourned at 12:11. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic week.
Thank you.